Hey everyone, in this video I want to draw another sketch in my sketchbook. In the previous video we drew this portrait and I showed you how I sketched it step by step. But now I want to draw a single eye because facial features are important to practice before you start drawing full portraits. And the most important thing in a portrait are the eyes. That's at least what I think. So you can never practice too much with drawing eyes, sketching all kinds of eyes, different angles, different shapes, female, male, just all kinds of eyes. And a sketchbook is perfect for that. Just practice drawing multiple eyes. Let's see, I'm going to draw one here because I want to draw another one here. And I always like to make it easy for myself, so I'm going to start with a middle line. And whenever you're going to draw something, you can imagine or think about shapes. So you want to think about the placement where you're going to draw the eye. If the eye is here, then you will have the eyebrow above it. So you can imagine like an oval or maybe a rectangle or square. And if you start with a middle line, it's helpful because then you can draw, first of all, you can draw the eye like straight. But if you're, for example, going to draw two eyes, then you can draw both eyes on that same line. Then you know that you're not going to draw one eye here and then one eye too high or too low. So drawing guidelines always help with that. I always sketch with an HB pencil. You want to keep your guidelines as sketch lines light, because at first you're going to be drawing like some searching lines, and then you're going to check the proportions, see if you're satisfied. If not, you can erase, try again. So that's why you want your sketch lines always to be light. So I'm going to draw the upper eyelid. This is usually like a curved shape. And then the inner eye corner is usually below, it's lower than the outer eye corner. So if you have the outer eye corner on this line, then below you will draw the inner eye corner. And then the same kind of shape, but then lower for the lower eyelid. And then there's usually a waterline, so the lashes are never attached to the eyeball. Drawing this a bit higher, so then you have the inner corner of the eye, and now you can look at the iris. So make sure that you draw, the iris is a full circle, but usually the top eyelid is covering part of the iris. And you can look at the white space of the eye to help you with drawing the iris in the middle. I'm going to draw the lower eyelid a bit higher. It's just barely touching the iris, the lower edge of the iris. And then the pupil you want in the middle of the iris, so imagine this is a circle, so you have the upper, like the top edge of the iris here. So then you don't want to look at this space and draw the iris too low. You want to imagine that part, so the full circle, and then exactly in the middle of this part. So it's usually a bit higher than what you see. Now the crease line, so a bit higher. So it's angled a bit here, curved here, and then it goes a bit further than the right eye corner. And then here it curved a bit. So first draw these searching lines, and then if you have too much lines, or if it's too dark, erase. So that's the great thing about sketchbooks. In the beginning, when I was a beginner, I didn't have any sketchbooks. I just had my drawing paper, and I thought each drawing that I'm going to draw will need to be a finished piece that I'm satisfied with. This I can't fail. I'm not sure about you, but if you're sometimes when we're beginners, we can be too hard on ourselves and compare ourselves to others in the beginning, and it's actually not a good thing to compare yourself to others, because you don't know at which stage of the journey they are. You don't know for how long they have been drawing. And maybe you do know that, but it's still not good to compare. So only keep track of your own progress by putting a date on your drawings, looking back at your previous ones to see your improvement. And you will only improve by keep on going. So if you keep on going. So the great thing about sketchbooks is that you can allow yourself to practice something. So I have been drawing for years, of course, but I wish that when I was a beginner, I had a sketchbook and then just allowed myself to sit, practice, and don't put too much pressure on myself that I have to create a finished drawing and that it has to be great. When you're a beginner, you want to allow yourself to practice, make mistakes, learn from those mistakes, and continue. You know, growing and improving as an artist doesn't go like linear. It goes like up, down. You make mistakes, you learn from them. You have your good, you have your bad days. So try to remember that. And maybe you draw something today, you're satisfied, you think, yes, I'm doing well, this is great. And then tomorrow you draw something you're not satisfied, and then you become frustrated, like, how? I thought I was improving. So try to accept the challenges and think of them as things you can learn from, instead of getting frustrated at yourself. Maybe try to think of it this way, like it's not so bad. If I'm not satisfied with this drawing, okay, on to the next. Let's practice some more. Try to be curious and motivate yourself that way. Okay, if this one didn't turn out, I'm going to move on to the next drawing and see what else I can create. So I drew the eyebrow a bit higher. And then if you look at the inner corner, then you see a bit, then I'm going to draw these smaller hairs a bit more to the left. And then if you have the crease line a bit to the right, that's where I'm going to draw the end. Okay, so once you have like I'm already filling in the eyebrow, but you don't have to. You can just draw like a line where it's going to be, like for the placement. And then check everything, like step away if you need to. I think I'm going to draw this one a bit less high. I think it curves a bit too much. Okay, you can erase the middle line, or if you drew any other guidelines, or if you have some searching lines, you can erase that. And now let's define the sketch a bit more. So if you're satisfied with how the iris, and make sure that the pupil is on the left and the right side, also in the middle, before you start filling it in and making it really dark. And then notice, oh, it's not in the middle. I want to correct that. So before you start moving on to darker pencil grades, make sure that you're satisfied with the sketch, that you don't have to do some erasing. And drawing eyes are really my favorite thing to do. There are so many different shapes, so many different types, and even a single eye. You can draw that eye in different angles, and you can see how by changing the angle, how the shape turns or changes, how the shape changes of that eye, and how you can just look at the shape. So you can make a picture of your own eye, or maybe a picture of someone else's eye, or just look up. There are so many pictures online, and practice drawing eyes as much as you can. Before drawing portraits, you will need to know at least how to draw an eye, but also how to draw like natural lashes, how to blend the crease line, that you don't just have an outline here, but a nicely blended crease line, how to draw natural lashes, eyebrow hairs. So not all of these shorter strokes, but longer, and then pay attention to the direction. Here it usually goes up with shorter hair strokes, and then here you get longer hair strokes to the right and up a bit, and then here it starts to curve down. Then usually you have some thinner individual strokes below the brow and then above a few. You will need to know how to draw that naturally before you start drawing portraits. Okay, I'm going to move on to the 2B, and I'm going to slowly start to darken my sketch. And I don't press really hard. If you want to darken, move on to a darker pencil grade. You don't have to press really hard, but because, for example, if you do notice that you made a mistake somewhere, it will make it really hard to erase. Okay, so usually the iris has like some details. Yeah, like these shorter strokes, and then following the edge of the iris, the round edge. And then around the pupil you also see some details. So you don't have to draw all of those details, but just like you can draw these shorter strokes. And the top part of the eye is usually in shadow because of the upper eyelid covering the eye. So you need to imagine like the eyeball is inside, like the upper eyelid, and the lower eyelid is covering the eyeball, creating the shadow. So the eyeball white isn't never white, it's in shadow. So you always see some kind of value. So make sure you shade that as well. And when you're sketching, you can use a blending stump if you like to make it a bit softer. I sometimes do and sometimes not. I'm also, when I started drawing, I was really interested in drawing realistic, shading and getting everything smooth. but I'm trying to draw my sketches a bit looser. I'm trying to see how that turns out. Instead of having everything smooth and blended, like for example with the skin, everything smooth. It's kind of interesting to also just see the pencil strokes, because this is a drawing. It's not a photograph of something. And hyper realistic was never my style. I like to create something realistic and challenge myself to do that, but never hyper realistic. So I always liked to see like the medium you used for that drawing, and not that someone was guessing like, wow, is that a photo? I'd like to still see some pencil strokes, so you don't have to blend everything completely smoothly. And then in the sketchbook with my sketches, I'm trying to get it even less smooth, so maybe not even blend at all. And this paper is quite smooth, and these pencils are also quite soft, so you can, like if you hold the pencil a bit more to the back, you shade with the side of the pencil lead, you see you can get a really smooth layer like that. But you can also use like the tip and then create more of those pencil strokes style. So usually under the crease line and above the crease line is a shadow. Blend that. And this sketch drawing of an eye is quite big when I'm drawing portrait, like here. So here you see the eye is like just this small. So I could have drawn the sketch of the eye a bit smaller, but if you draw just like a single eye and you draw it a bit bigger, you can focus on each smaller detail. But when you're drawing portraits, yeah, you don't really draw them that big, but at least you know about all of the details if you draw it at a bigger size. So you can also sketch an eye smaller, like the size that you're going to draw when you're going to draw full portraits. But yeah, like I said, the bigger size you draw, the more details you can add, and practice with that. So yeah, at this step, you can just define your sketch a bit more. Look through the, think about all the shadows you have on the eye. It's usually around the crease line. So before you draw the lashes, you want to think about the shading that you're adding. And when you're drawing realistically, you want to add really dark values. With a sketch, I don't usually get really dark with my values. So this is the 2B. Let's see, I could move on to the 4B, but I also have this is a mechanical pencil. And with sketching, I also often like to use mechanical pencils because you don't have to sharpen them. And usually when sketching, you also draw a bit smaller, so you need to draw smaller details. And if I compare the tip of the mechanical pencil to the tip of this 4B pencil, and then if you go darker, like I have the 4B, the 6B here, the darker you go, the softer the pencil lead will get, and also a bit thicker. So for smaller details, this is the 4B, this is the 2B with these graphite pencils, and this is the 2B I have from the Pentel Graph Gear. So if I swatch it down here, you see that the 2B of this mechanical pencil is almost as dark as the 4B of the graphite pencils I have here. And the great thing about mechanical pencils is that you don't have to sharpen them, and you keep that sharp tip the whole time. So that's what I wanted to show you. I used the HB and the 2B, and now I have the mechanical pencil. And if you need to draw like, this is a bigger size, but again, if you're going to draw a smaller eye, eyelashes, you want to make sure that you have a sharp tip. So that's great. Then it's great to use a mechanical pencil as well. I'm drawing longer strokes for the eyebrow hairs. I try to draw quick hair strokes, make them look natural. And group the hairs together, like they overlap each other. Okay, I'm actually going to move on to the 4B now because I have a bigger sketch, so I can use the darker pencils. You can always use the darker pencils. Just wanted to mention that for smaller drawings with smaller details, a mechanical pencil can be really great to use. The iris is a bit darker. And then you see some, usually there's a highlight in the iris, and then you usually see some details. So draw that. Usually you see the reflection of the lashes in the highlights. Okay, let's darken the crease line a bit more. So remember that you try to blend it a bit by adding some graphite around it instead of just this dark line with a light value next to it, because you add value shadow next to it. You make it look like a crease line instead of just a line. I think I'm going to sketch my next eye a bit smaller because again, usually when I draw portraits, the eyes aren't this big. So it is great if you're drawing like a really realistic eye, you want to draw every single detail. With sketches, you don't. I'm going to use the 2B. I'm going to start drawing the eyelashes. With sketches, you don't have to add all of these details, so you Okay, the lashes can be tricky. Try to not draw them all like the same direction. And these are going more to the front. And then here they curve a bit more and they go a bit down more. Try to draw fast strokes and tapered strokes because lashes are thinner at the tip. Adding some shadow behind the lashes. And then I like to use a darker pencil grade, and then I go over some of them to darken. And drawing eyelashes can be challenging, tricky, so practice that as well. You can also just practice drawing eyelashes in your sketchbook. You don't have to draw a whole eye. Practice trying to make them look natural. Darken that shadow here, so you really bring that iris to the back, because it's inside of the eye and the eyelid here is on top. Now let's look at the lower lashes. To remember the waterline first and then the lashes. And some will overlap. Sometimes you see like a space in between. Try to draw them quick. And then with the 4B, go over some just at the base to darken. Don't go over the tip. Don't make like these thick curved strokes. It can make the lashes look like spider legs. That's not what you want. And I want to add some shading to the waterline. And I think it turned out a bit too thick here. With the 2B. I'm going to use the blending step a bit just to like see these edges. Yeah, I'm just going to use it to blend here, like the eyeball white. It's also faster to do it this way. You can just use the graphite that's on the tip of the blending stump and just blend everything. And like here where I didn't have any graphite, just add a bit. Okay. Now with the 4B, go over the eyebrow again. And I always say the more messy the eyebrow hairs are, the more natural it will look. So I like to draw like a few messy hair strokes. Darken the crease line. Okay, let's go over the pupil again. Darken the iris a bit. Now because you smudged a bit over the lashes, you can go over a few of them, darken a bit if you need to. Darken this corner a bit. You can draw like some veins in the eyeball white, you know, because the eye is big, you can draw all of those details. If you're drawing an eye smaller, of course, you're not going to draw that kind of details. Then it's more about the value and the shape of the eye. Adding a bit more darker shading here below the eye to make the eye look round. This is the 4B, darken a bit more. Not too much, you don't want the eye to look like tired. Okay, so I used the HB, 2B, and then 4B as my darkest. Of course, you can go darker. You can even use the black. That's what I would do if I'm going to draw a really realistic drawing. But for my sketchbook, I don't really want to go darker. I want to keep these about the drawings in my sketchbook. Like if I look at this one, see, I didn't even go really dark. I want to keep it about sketching, proportions. How can you... I think this eye is already starting to look more realistic than I wanted. I want to keep these sketches, like I said. I want to challenge myself to keep it more like a sketched look. But of course I'm used to drawing realistic. And yeah, I don't know. I want to just... I hope I can inspire you and motivate you to, even if you're not using a sketchbook, you're just drawing on some regular paper. I want to inspire you that you don't need every drawing that you create to be complete, finished, or that you're even satisfied with it. Draw something, and if it's finished, move on to the next, and think of it like you either win or learn. So if you're not satisfied, you will learn from it. What didn't go well? What aren't you satisfied with? Change that and do it different with the next drawing. It's all up to you. And how you will improve is all up to you. It's just you that has to show up, you that has to keep on drawing. And again, don't compare yourself to others. You don't know, maybe they are drawing every day. I don't know. And I'm not saying that if you're going to draw every day, that will get you, that's what you need to do to be a better artist, and it will improve. You don't, it's best not to give yourself any deadlines. Just draw whenever you have time, whenever you feel like it. And maybe when you don't feel like drawing, when I don't know what to draw, then I just draw an eye. Eyes are great to draw, to practice. And yeah, try to take any pressure off and then think, okay, what am I going to draw today? Just an eye, front view, single eye. You can even draw it smaller. I think I'm going to draw the next smaller next time. Okay, so I could continue, but yeah, I think this is fine like this. I enjoyed myself drawing this eye. I'm satisfied with it. I hope you were able to follow along with me. Draw this eye step by step. And that I could inspire you a bit or give you a few tips. And if you want to learn more about realistic drawing, you can always join us in the membership. In these videos, I just want to focus on the sake of drawing something, how to do it step by step, and not putting too much pressure on yourself. But if you want to learn more, in the membership, we start from the basics. We go step by step. Then we learn to draw single facial features, and then we practice drawing portraits. So if you have any ideas for some other videos here on YouTube, I think next video will also be an eye, and then maybe we can practice some more facial features like nose, lips, and then at all different angles. And once you master drawing facial features and you're satisfied with what you're drawing and they look natural, then you can move on to the difficult step, and that's drawing portraits. But before you're drawing portraits, you want to know what you're doing, you want to know how to shade, you want to know what you're drawing, you want to understand what you're drawing, understand proportions, and yeah. It's all about practicing and drawing. So as long as you keep on drawing, you're fine. Again, I hope you could learn something from this video, and I'll see you in one of the next.